from Cleveland's most accurate weather team. This is 19 First Alert Plus, sponsored by the man that makes them pay, Tim Misney.
All right, good Monday evening to one and all. Chris Fry coming to you from the 19 News Digital Center. Here to tell you about this 19 First Alert weather night issued for Northeast Ohio. We are expecting really our big, one of the first snowstorms to come into our area of the lake effect variety. Before we check in with Chief Meteorologist Jason Nicholas, we want to get a live look at the roadways right now. Caitlin McCarthy standing by live right now, traveling to parts unknown. Caitlin, good evening to you. You're just hitting the roadways tonight. Tell us where you are and what you're seeing. I know it's still early, but just kind of give us a visual of what you're seeing.
Yeah, good evening, Chris. We just entered Lake County heading towards Menor on 90 eastbound, and take a look at the roadways right now. The snow belt is definitely living up to its name. We just started seeing some snow accumulating here on the interstate. Drivers are still driving the speed limit, but you know, the roads out here are starting to get a little bit slick. You can see it's a little bit wet on the roadways, excuse me. You can even see on our camera there that there are some drops on our windshield as well. But just about 15 minutes ago, we were leaving downtown Cleveland, driving through Euclid, and it was much different over there. So we're starting to see a lot more snowflakes here in the Menor Lake County area, but it's kind of slowed down the last 30 seconds to a minute. It's kind of coming and going right now. We know the snow is going to be picking up later this evening, but this is what the roadways look like right now. Drivers are still going the speed limit. The roadways are a little bit wet. There's a small amount of snow accumulation on the roadways. We're going to stay out here throughout the evening to keep a look at the roads to make sure that we don't see any accidents. And if we do see anything, we will alert you first here on our digital platforms and on TV. Chris.
All right. Caitlin McCarthy live on I-90, headed out east to the Menor area. Caitlin, thanks a lot. All right, let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Jason Nicholas with the latest. Jason, good evening to you. So, and that's kind of how it is, right? You can be downtown, and within 10 miles, maybe even 5 miles, things just kind of change rapidly. But it's quiet right now for the most part. But kind of give us the timing of what's going to come and how much we're going to see.
Yeah, we're really targeting after 11, 12 o'clock tonight for that band to come on shore, and that's all of what all of our model data has been telling us, and we put a lot of faith into that. We can kind of set the stage, but then it's really just when does the lake effect start, who gets hit the hardest, and it's not like a big winter storm coming up from the Mississippi Valley, Panhandle Hook from Texas or something, and we go, well, here's the snow. Right now it's in Kansas, then Missouri, then up into Kentucky, then to Southwest Ohio. Lake effect is completely different. It's tricky. Not many places in the world have to deal with this stuff. We're blessed here in Northern Ohio to have to. So it does take some time for lake effect to get going. A couple of things I've learned from lake effect over almost 20 years here in Northern Ohio. It starts a little bit later than you think, and it lasts a little bit longer than you think. So those are kind of two things that I've learned from covering so many lake effect events. And also, by the way, Chris, we talked about this earlier on our newscast, that historically speaking, the most significant lake effect events we get in Northern Ohio happen in late November into early December. And that tends to make sense because the lake water is still relatively warm. And remember what makes those lake effect snow bands so strong or so energetic? The temperature difference between the water and the air going on top of it. So this is why we always kind of think about late November, early December. We kind of say, hey, all bets are off. And Buffalo is included in that. They had that big, massive snowstorm a few years ago, and that happened early in December, I believe. I'd have to look back at the history books. But all right, so things are quiet right now. Downtown Cleveland, again, won't get the brunt of this event, but we're going to be impacted. I like, we obviously have an alert going, but I like this graphic that Sam put together, and it kind of shows a timeline and impacts. It's kind of, your one-stop shop for a graphical representation of what's going to happen. We put the traffic lights there too. Red's not great, yellow's a little bit better. Overnight tonight, snow will intensify, meaning after midnight, overnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. This is for the snow belt only. Outside the snow belt, very little effect. Tomorrow morning, I think, could be the worst weather for some of us. And again, lake effect is tough because not everyone gets hit. So for folks that were watching in Worcester and Mansfield and Ashland and Canton and even Akron to a certain extent, they might wake up tomorrow morning and you've got green grass. And they'll be like, well, what was everyone talking about? Well, that's how lake effect works. Again, we'll talk about who has the best chance of getting significant snow in a moment. And then through the day Tuesday, things get a little bit better. Still some snow lingering in spots. There's a look right now. By the way, the area's in pink, lake snow warning. Can already see this band trying to form here right there. And the thinking is this thing is going to meander its way on shore. I would expect it to get more of a west to east orientation there. Not so much southwest northeast. That's how it's kind of southwest northeast right now. I would expect this thing to kind of turn a little bit as our winds shift. Lake effect is really astonishing. Notice this band of snow. And this is something we could be seeing. Look at this, Chris, coming off of Lake Michigan. Wow, that's going all the way to Detroit. So that's a big, big deal, yeah. That's likely to be something that we're dealing with here. So far, it's kind of unorganized. But the thinking is once this line of snow right here pushes on shore, we will really start to see some lake effect bands. So take a look at First Alert Future View. There it is, 2 a.m. Potentially nasty stuff. Until then, not that bad. 5 a.m. slide south, and then things get to be a little bit more unorganized. I think tomorrow is actually cold and windy, and then we'll watch for some bands later in the day before things really improve on Wednesday. I want to take a look here real quick at our latest snow tracker forecast. So I just kind of edited this here, and this is the current thinking. You can see Cleveland, Akron, south and west, a couple of inches. Not a lot. Once you hit into Medina County, southern Summit County, southern Portage County, southern Lorain County, a couple inches at the most. It's the snow belt, north and east of Cleveland. I have that 8 to 14 kind of red area through portions of Geauga County, southern Lake, and into Ashtabula. That will likely have the most. Outside of that, in the purple 6 to 8, that does include eastern Cuyahoga. And then 3 to 6, south and west. Again, lake effect is tough because even within that 8 to 14 zone, there may be spots that don't get 8 inches, but the odds are in that red zone that there'll be many spots that get over 10, 12 inches of snow. We put the plus there where squalls persist. You could put the plus on almost all of them except the trace to 2 because 3 to 6 I feel pretty good with, pretty confident with. But even if we get a band setting up over western Cuyahoga, we could go over 6 inches. So, lake effect is a challenge. Our goal is to always make sure we're highlighting the areas that we have the highest confidence in for a significant impact. Let's not forget about this. All right, hour by hour for tonight. Temps in the upper 20s, and we stay in the mid 20s. I mean, it's going to be a cold and windy night. 15 seconds from now, we'll look at our 7-day, Chris.
I've represented families just like yours for over 4 decades. Listen, if you need me, call me. You know I'll be there for you, and I'll make them pay. In the meantime, I'll keep an eye out for you.
All right, here's our 7-day. Again, alert for tomorrow, 19 first alert weather day, obviously, near 40 on Wednesday. Better weather Thursday. We're in the mid-40s, and then some showers come in for Friday. Friday looks pretty wet. But notice the trend here. A lot of this snow that's going to fall tonight into tomorrow is going to melt. Temperatures back in the 40s, and we're above freezing overnight as well. So, Chris, buckle up. Lake effect is it's always an interesting thing because you'll be driving along and, listening to your favorite music or a podcast, and all of a sudden you look in front of you, and you may even have some sunshine out there.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you look in front of you, it's a little dark, and then you see the brake lights.
Yeah.
And my one bit of advice driving in this stuff and forecasting this stuff for years is just keep in mind that you could have changeable weather over a very short distance.
I agree, and don't get me on my soapbox about drivers here in Northeast Ohio. God love people here, But man, there are some
Doesn't
drivers.
everybody, but hold on a second. Doesn't everybody think that the place where they live has the worst drivers?
I don't know. I've lived in a lot of places. I mean, there are a lot of people here that drive in treacherous weather, and they gun it. So
There's some
my
confidence
advice
there. There's some experience and some confidence there. But I always say, it's interesting to me always these guys with or ladies with four wheelers or 4x4 or all-wheel drive. You have to have the tires.
Yes.
You got to have your tires, because I've driven an all-wheel drive vehicle for years, and if the tires aren't good, it's not great.
You don't stand a chance. Yep.
Yeah, and always, I think a lot of people, you're right, they try to be a little bit more aggressive on the roads. Yeah. I'll throw Florida in the mix for some poor drivers.
That too.
I've been able to spend a lot of time in the Tampa Bay area over the years, and every time I go down there, man, I'm holding my breath.
It's like you're driving on the Autobahn,
They don't have weather to deal with down there.
Well, like I said, I would just say overall, whether you're an experienced driver, a novice, just be careful, because you're right. If people have lived up here long enough, they know, once the temperature gets lower, streets are wet, roads are wet, slick roads can occur. So just be careful if you have to be out tonight, early tomorrow morning. So always good advice there.
Again, just to button this up, and we'll get cranking at 10 and 11. Tomorrow morning, the majority of us won't be affected by this, but if we have this band coming on shore into Cuyahoga at between 4 and 6 a.m., it's going to be a huge deal, because even if it's not snowing at 7 or 8, it's going to take time to get those roads cleared. And this snow that may come down is going to be pretty heavy, very energetic. Thunder snow is possible, Chris.
Oh, boy. Wow.
Yeah, we had that in the end of October, remember?
We did. I remember that.
We were on the air at 10.
Wow. That was a phenomenon. That's a phenomenon. And now we may get it twice within a month.
Well, if we're going to get it, this is the time of the year to get it. When you have that temperature difference between the cold air aloft coming in and the water temp and the air that's kind of over the lake, that's when you get your most energetic lake effect snows. It typically is November, December. We had a little preview in October because it was unseasonably a cold air mass.
Yes, I remember that.
All right.
Well, Chief Meteorologist Jason Nicholas, a lot of information there. He's going to have much more coming up on the news at 10 o'clock over on CW43. Jason will see you then, as will I. We'll have our first news of the evening. Once again, 10 o'clock, CW43, and then switch over to 19 News on CBS for the news at 11. I'm Chris Fry in the 19 News Digital Center. We'll see you in just over 20 minutes.
19 News, now